First of all, congratulations on the movie.
Thank you.
I think it's great.
Thank you.
I've heard that this has been a passion project of yours for a very long time.
I've been working on it for a very long time. Yes, this is true.
What was it? What is it about Bobby Fischer? What is it about the story that has, compelled you to say, I need to make this?
Well, Bobby's a very complicated guy who I think, well, first of all, the story's fascinating, that you have a guy who, even though he was born in Chicago, I would say this kid from Brooklyn, who ends up being the best chess player in the world, both through, I would say, natural ability, but really that coupled with a tremendous work ethic allows him to rise up, which was not common for Americans. The Russians had been dominating chess for a while, and Americans were not winning, certainly not the world champions, and not at the top of chess for a long time. And it wasn't supported like it was in Russia. So you have this sort of David and Goliath story on its surface, but then you have this really complicated character in Bobby at the center of it.
Well, one of the things I think that people are who don't know the story as they're watching it, they might believe that what you're doing is fictionalizing this actual event, when in actuality, that match was the center of the universe when it was happening.
Yeah, the world championship between Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky just caught the attention of the world. And, I sort of had this sense of, like, believe it or not, everybody was watching chess. And commentators were explaining what the moves meant and, who had the advantage or disadvantage. And, I'm not even sure what to relate it to, because basically everybody was paying attention.
100%. I'm very curious. I'm a big fan of your work, and
Thank you.
I think you're a very talented actor.
I like you.
I'm very curious how your process has changed throughout your career in terms of getting ready for a role, or do you kind of stick with a routine that you've developed for a long time?
I think there's certain things that I do that are more routine for me, but I don't. I would say those are kind of tactics within strategy, and the strategy changes depending on what the project is. I don't have a rote way to do things, but I do have certain things that I think through or questions I ask, and there are definitely kind of principles and certain things that I do all the time. I mean, really basic stuff about understanding the story and coordinating with my collaborators and unifying a vision to a large degree. And then within the story and the framework of the movie, really understanding the kind of filmmaking or story purpose for the scenes, which is separate in a way, even though I have to serve that because I'm telling the story in the scenes, but I'm also portraying a character and understanding the arc and where that character's at in the scene. I do a lot of breaking of all of that stuff down, and then there's voice and physicality, and then I try to push on all of that stuff. Like, even once I have a rough plan set out, I go challenge my plan and see if I can disrupt it in some way, even as an exercise, even if I come right back to the same decisions.
Have you ever gone method or as close to that for a role, or do you sort of not? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think that when you're asking about method, I assume you mean to essentially stay in character.
Exactly.
I would say that no, I haven't purposely asked people to call me by the name of the character on my days off, or would only speak in the voice of the character. But what happens is I'll be practicing those things and thinking about the story and the scenes, so it's not method, but you're engaged and immersed in the physicality, the voice, the scenes. So it's almost like, but it's more like I'm rehearsing or preparing after I've got done shooting, that night, whether it's generally about the characterization or specific scenes coming up. So I have been in situations where I'm pretty much engaged throughout the whole shooting process with the character and the story. So I think one could interpret that in that direction, but it's a little bit different.
You are pushing into, you produced a lot of movies. I'm very curious, is this something that you want to push more into? Do you know what I mean, in terms of your career? Do you envision a balance between acting and producing?
Yeah, I envision a balance. I'm interested in telling stories, collaborating with other storytellers, and it's not completely predictable when I'll have the opportunities to play a part as an actor or produce a movie. I'm developing a few different things, and I don't know when the right thing comes together, and whether I'm producing or acting, then that's what'll happen.
I'm very curious, what do you think playing the goon at Video Armageddon in The Wizard brought to your acting career?
Was that the name of my character? I was basically like, did somebody?
I was looking at IMDb and it said like goon at Video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a joke about it.
I didn't even know that I was credited on that movie.
I think it's uncredited, but you're still listed.
Okay, yeah,
Totally having fun with this.
No, I understand. I was friends with a kid in that movie, and I was visiting the set, and I just basically had an opportunity to be an extra. That might have been my first gig in any kind of professional production, and the singer Jenny Lewis is in that movie. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yes. So I met her on that set, and I ended up being friends with her for quite a while, and I was friends with her and Blake, who had the band Rilo Kiley, and it was always a trip because looking back on that, I don't know why I mentioned all that, and I was terrible as an extra. I mean, my expressions and reactions were so over the top, so ridiculous.
But you did learn from it. What not to do?
I guess, yeah. I mean, looking at it, it's pretty painful. I don't remember if I felt that extreme pain that I would feel now looking at that. And it's funny too.
Did you get to leave set? Did everyone get to take home Nintendo Power Gloves? That was the real key.
Not me. I was there for a day, so.
I appreciate you indulging me with that with the Wizard.
Yeah.
You've been in some. I love Pleasantville, Wonder Boys. You've done some great work in some great films. When you're waiting in line for something, what do people typically want to talk about outside of Spider-Man and stuff?
It's varied. You mean in terms of what films do people talk to me about the most?
Yeah, like you're standing in line at Starbucks, hypothetically, and people are like, "Oh my God, I love."
Yeah. It varies. I've gotten many of the films: Ice Storm, Cider House Rules, Seabiscuit, Great Gatsby, Pleasantville, Brothers, all of them.
Are you the type that can rewatch your older work and take it in and appreciate it? Or, because I've spoken to a lot of actors and they're like, they kind of distance themselves because they can't watch themselves again.
I just don't have a great interest in watching it again. I went through that experience of seeing those movies, and I think I could tolerate it. I don't have a great interest in it.
Sure. Well, I mean, sometimes
Chief, we gotta wrap it up.
Sure. I was just going to say sometimes people at premieres they can't watch themselves.
Yeah. No. I mean. I'm often looking for, I don't say the mistakes or things I would do differently, or basically how do I learn from this to do better next time. And that's pretty much what I'm doing when I'm watching things that I'm in. I'm not really sitting back and enjoying the movie or getting caught up in the movie, although I've had different experiences where, if the audience, if I've seen the movie several times too, where I'm now kind of taking all the notes I can take, and I'm with an audience, at a premiere or a screening somewhere, and there's a particular kind of way that the audience is reacting to the film. Sometimes I can kind of click into that group and not be critiquing and taking notes.
Totally. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.